This is Tabby from Modern Life Podcast. You can reach us at modernlifepod@gmail.com. Follow us at Modern Life Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and also visit our website, modernlifepodcast.com. Today I'm talking to Kate from Kate Talks About Books on Instagram about My Cousin Rachel. Quick summary, it was written by Daphne du Maurier. It's about Philip Ashley, who suspects his caretaker Ambrose to be murdered by his new wife Rachel in Italy. Being left as sole heir, Philip vows revenge on Rachel, but when she does come visit England, woman hater Philip becomes enthralled, fascinated, and obsessed with his cousin Rachel. It's a brilliant book that sparked a few adaptations, and we're going to be going over them today in our third du Maurier podcast.
I have written to you several times, but there is no one I can trust to take my letters to the mail. She is away from the house today. That's why I'm able to write this. For weeks I've been ill, fevers, terrible headaches, but she watches me like a hawk. Believe nothing but this. She'll ruin me. She'll ruin everything.
Welcome back to Modern Life Podcast. This is Tabby, and I have a really special guest with me today.
Hi, so I'm Kate.
So Kate lives in Hong Kong, which I find super exciting. How long have you been there?
So actually I've been here for 8 years now.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah.
What do you do for work?
So I've been teaching in the secondary school. It just happened, really. I just graduated, I went to uni in England, and then I just came over here to teach. And then I've just ended up staying here for a while.
Are there any language requirements or anything that you have to, or do you just have to speak English to be able to teach there?
So English, to be like so-called a native speaker. So a lot of, people, they want to learn better English, or for the students as well to improve their English. So they want native speakers to come and teach. It's been quite challenging.
Is it expensive to live there? It always sounds really expensive.
Yeah, it depends which area in Hong Kong you live in. I live quite locally, actually. So you have like the island side where most people prefer to live. It's slightly more expensive. Yeah, there's benefits to being a native teacher as well, that they help you a little bit with just allowances and things like that. So that's helped quite a lot, especially living alone. And yeah. Can't believe I've been here for so long, actually.
That's incredible.
8 years sounds well.
How often do you go back home?
Once a year, like summertime, luckily.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Really long holidays.
Oh, nice.
Summer holidays, you get, like Christmas, Easter, and then obviously it's Chinese New Year now.
But switching gears a little bit, Kate, what's your modern thought? What have you got for us?
So I was reading a news article. Actually, it's quite funny. It's something called a pink frog mouth. I don't know if you've heard of it. Basically, the fish has legs.
No, I don't know. I don't know it.
There's a fish that has legs. So it's actually pretty hilarious because scientists kept using the phrase feet-looking extremities that's attached to the fish. So basically modified fins. I just find it so funny because it's the type of anglerfish, actually. And then they were discovered on the seabed. And then it just got up and walked away.
Oh my gosh.
When the scientists got too close. Actually, I wish I could attach a video. Because I think I saw it on Facebook, and there's like a YouTube video, and it's just like, it actually has legs, proper legs, and it just gets up and, walks around.
I'm going to have to Google this right after we're done here.
And it's just like, like the axolotl and then the blobfish. And I just find it so fascinating. And all those different types of sea creatures we don't even know about.
Yes, we talked about this on another episode, how we didn't even know there was topography on the ocean until like the 50s or something like that. That we just don't know anything about the ocean. I feel like there's so much we don't know.
It's just so deep, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gosh, but that's just that. It makes me laugh these things.
I love that.
Just showing the students as well, like all the crazy sea creatures, and they're fascinated. Obviously, it's pretty fascinating.
Nice.
But yeah, you need to check it out.
That's very cool. Mine's a little bit similar, which is funny. So I've been reading a few articles about sand depletion. and how nobody really cares about it, and how it's like a resource that we're losing. Did you know about this?
No, I did not know.
No, me neither. So we use sand in things like concrete and electronics. And because a lot of developing countries, especially like China, have had to build so many roads and use so much concrete, and we can only use certain types of sand. So yes, there's a lot of sand in the desert, but it lacks a certain moisture, so we can't use it for construction. So these riverbanks have become completely... just the communities around them are really affected, and them grabbing the sand out of there has really affected the wildlife. And I was like, well, this is something I haven't heard about, or you don't really hear about. So I just thought that was interesting.
And scary as well. I mean, everything's depleting, isn't it?
Yeah, even sand, even things you don't even think about.
You don't even think about.
Yeah.
Gosh.
But that's it. That's all we had. So we're going to be diving into the main topic, my cousin Rachel. This is our third Daphne du Maurier episode. I'm obsessed with her. So what's your history with this book?
Well, I mean, which one? I read Rebecca first, and then this is the second one. And it basically started my binge about reading her other books.
Yeah, Rebecca was my first one too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know why, like... You say like what people's favorites are. I guess they say Rebecca, right?
Yeah, and like I've read 4 of hers, and my favorite is still Rebecca. And I'm like, does that make me basic? I'm sorry, like it's still Rebecca.
No, Rebecca. Like, okay, now I think about it. Like comparing both of them, I like them equally as much. But I think like the way it's written, I suppose, probably Rebecca. Actually, and then my cousin Rachel, or joint first, and then. Gosh, there's so many though, actually. And they're also different.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like my cousin Rachel. I don't know, I keep comparing. If you ask why is it like your favorite, like Gone with the Wind and like Wuthering Heights, it just seems like all the main characters, like you don't like them. They're not likable.
Right.
And I don't know what that means about the books that like my favorite classics. But I was just thinking like the trend, like why do I like them so much? It's just they're quite complex, and there's lots of like emotion and like emotional struggle they're going through. It doesn't mean the other books don't, but I think maybe it's like more apparent, like the battles they go through with each other, or it's an interesting one.
I think what I've seen, what I've seen online as to why a lot of people why this isn't their favorite is because spending so much time in Philip's head it's such a toxic environment to live in for that long, which is the point of the book. And it's brilliant, but I can understand why people are like, oh my God, no, he's so dumb. And
that's the thing, because it's all in his head. And even like, I think it's House on the Strand. There's the main character in that as well. And he's on drugs. I mean, he's tripping.
Oh, I haven't read that one, honestly.
Well, the other one that's like House on the Strand. Oh, The Scapegoat. There's the main character in that.
Oh, I just finished reading that.
Yeah. That's another podcast worthy.
Yeah. I love that one a lot.
It's just, the main characters, like you do like follow their journey. So, if you don't get along with them or you really hate them from the start, then that kind of like sets you up for the rest of the book. Which
with Philip, we're not supposed to, and you said this, but we're not supposed to like him or feel for him, or I think I was about...
You know what though? I'm like, we say that, but actually, is it bad if I say I do, like, sympathize with him?
Oh, really?
This is like, oh my goodness, everyone's like, what? I think, no, like halfway through, I think the beginning part I actually did. I don't know, like maybe when I read it, like what I was going through, not saying I was going through exactly the same stuff. Okay, you've read it, so do you remember the beginning?
Yes.
Like not giving too much detail. So yeah, I was going through something similar to that. So at that time, I just, imagine from his point of view, how, like Rachel coming on the scene and how, 100%, like, I guess at the beginning, he's justified to be suspicious because he sees a change in the person closest to him, right? Like they're really close. Like actually the first chapter sets up the history together and how they kind of rely on each other a lot. And then suddenly Rachel comes along, and then, you know, like he sees changes in him, but he doesn't quite know like what's happened, and it's like too late when he does find out, and, you know, bad things had already happened. And then she, it's quite intense actually, the first chapter. I don't know, what do you think about, the beginning? Like whether you kind of trust his narrative or like just follow his journey at the start?
Yeah, at the beginning, I think everyone is with Philip. Like, get this woman, she's evil. You don't, at this point, doubt anything that Ambrose would have written. But I think about 3/4 of the way through the book, I realized that the central mystery of did Rachel do it, did she not do it, is actually completely irrelevant. Because I felt like Daphne du Maurier was just using this novel to examine misogyny and the toxic environments that creates for women, and that it's completely inconsequential what they do, because Philip's already been raised to be somebody who hates women. Like, I can understand why people say this is her most feminist novel. She leaves it open at the end, because I feel like that's not the point that she was trying to make. And I have...
because it's definitely, no conclusion you can draw from it, right?
Yeah, and my copy of My Cousin Rachel, it has a foreword by Sally Bowman in it, and she says something really interesting here where she goes, "The damage inflicted here is not confined to one woman, it extends to an entire sex and poisons a society." And at a thematic level, du Maurier examines male-administered poisons that are equally deadly and whose victims are more numerous. Yet the central mirroring device of the novel, has scarcely been noticed, let alone examined. And I would have to agree with her on that, because I watched the original black and white My Cousin Rachel.
Yes, I haven't seen that.
And
so you're the expert.
Well, it was a well done movie, but the whole undertones of why Philip is the way he is, and the whole misogyny of it, was completely left out. And then to me, it just becomes about, it becomes like a mystery. And I'm like, well, that to me takes away the whole point of the movie, even though it was a good movie, it was well done. To me, that was the central message the book was trying to convey. And I actually thought the new one with Rachel Weisz did a much better job at that.
And then obviously you've got the book versus the movie, right? Yeah, like what do you think? Do you think like the movie did it justice? Like the newest movie?
The newest movie, I was with it. I have so many notes about it. I was with it like all the way until the end, when they had Philip marry Louise. And I'm like, she's the only reliable narrator in the story. And she figures out in that last moment that he basically sent her to her death. Like, he killed her. And the point of the story was like, Rachel was this one person in his life. He's always going to be alone because he hates women. And Louise isn't going to be with him because she's too smart. Like, she wisened up. Yeah, like, it's over.
Well, and then that happened in the movie. But it's like the tying loose ends, like making things happy, like happy endings in movies, right? So it does like change like the essence of it and changes the book.
No, I think that's what bothered me about it. You just summed it up perfectly, because I don't mind minor changes in movies usually at all.
But a minor change,
right? But if it changes the whole purpose, then I get a little upset. Yeah, so what did you think? Did Rachel do it or did she not do it?
I think overall, after everything, to be honest, all throughout the movie, I mean, it's not her point of, actually, in the book, okay, it's Philip's point of view entirely. So we don't get to see any of her side of the story. And in the movie, you see she's just stirring tea, right? So actually there's no actual evidence. It's, like halfway through, he starts to imagine, situations and scenarios, and then he starts to get obsessive and he goes crazy, basically. Mm-hmm. So, there's no actual tangible evidence of the so-called, the only thing, the scene is the tea. I think the first time I read it, probably, I don't know, do you start reading and then you stop and then you really like analyze it, or do you get to the end and then you really reflect afterwards.
Yeah, that was me. I got to the end and Daphne kind of blindsided me like she always does. And I'm like, well, wait, what is the truth?
I think like the first time I read it, I think because, you really are like following his point of view, but then there's a lot of, he has his faults for sure. I don't know, like I changed my mind after, like the first time I think she did, but then obviously, I reflected, and then once you start reflecting and then you see the movies and then you think about it, and as you said, like actually it's not really important whether she did or not, because it's just something else entirely. But then if you really want to come down to like whether you want to know whether she did it or not, I think she just got swept up in something that, she just went along with it. I don't know, do you think there's like a connection between them, like how she felt towards Philip and how serious she was about him?
I thought that she, because we can't look at anything that Philip says. We have to look at the characters the only ones who are reliable, which is like the uncle, godfather figure and his daughter, and the things that they say, like, oh, she spends her money really extravagantly. She's had like 3 husbands or like lovers, and they all die. There's like
negative, isn't it?
Yeah, there's like duels.
Awful.
And like these are the people that we trust because Philip's just an idiot and he doesn't believe anything they say. And also the thing that Louise says in the church of like, well, no, she's not gonna, she probably strung you along, but she's not gonna marry you, especially because she knows how to look out for herself. And I felt like that.
Also, Louise likes him as well. I mean, she's got her own agenda in a way.
Yeah, except at that point, I'm not even sure anymore if she cares about that. Because at that point, he's, gaslit her and treated her so horribly throughout the book. In the book, I didn't even feel like she cared whether she got together with him. And by the end, she doesn't, because she's like, nah, I'm out of here. But I felt like Rachel was so manipulative in getting everybody's attention in the town. I could see a situation where maybe she did poison Ambrose and there was something sketchy there, but then you could make the... Sorry, go ahead.
It's hard, isn't it? It's one of those things that you can never quite decide on at the end, like after like so-called looking at all the so-called evidence,
right?
And just comparing things and analyzing it. And it's just because like the first time I read it, I did believe she did it, but that really is based on, like you said, like his, what he went through, like all the perspectives of the people around him. So the book, it sets you up to believe that. But then because it's so hard to show like points of view properly in movies, so it's more that she's more on an equal footing. Yeah. So it's just hard, isn't it? Because like apart from stirring tea and having bits and pieces, and obviously what Louise says and what other people say, and it's all against her, really. But you never actually see her do anything.
Right.
So
I was fascinated with this concept of her having to be loved. I think that's why she's like, oh, my lawyer's not in love with me, even though she knows he is. She has all these suitors. I think she's just so compelled by how unconditionally Philip is infatuated with her that maybe, Ambrose caught on to her, but Philip never would. Because you can make the argument then if he's like in that coma later on, why wouldn't she that would be a perfect time to kill him. But I think she doesn't because she's become dependent on like his adoration because it's so intense. And that was my theory. Like
so you're like pro. She definitely killed his uncle.
Yeah, that was my first reading of it. Like
not necessarily of poisoning Philip, but she's guilty of something. So they're both guilty of something.
Right. Yes, I think that's it. Which I don't know if that's true. And also by the end of the book, I don't, I want Philip to die because he's so obnoxious, so I don't even care anymore.
That's great, isn't it? By the end of the book, all the readers are just like, I don't care if he lives or dies. Just like end the character already, end the book.
Oh, he's just such an idiot. Like there's a piece at the end where he's looking through the letters and he keeps telling us like he was educated at a college or something, and he took Greek and Latin, and he's like, darn it, why couldn't I have taken why couldn't they have taught me Italian? Because I can't read it, any of this. I can't understand anything. I'm like, okay, so you took Latin, but you can't understand a single word of this Italian? You can't figure out one word? I'm like, Philip, you're an idiot.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, it's more like, especially in the film, it's like more visual, isn't it? Just the scene at the end where he was just like flinging things around and trying like frantically, and Louise is there and just... Yeah.
Yes, and in the movie, I thought that, oh, now she really gets that he's showing his true nature, and they wouldn't get together. That's why, that was another thing that why I was so surprised that they did get married at the end. Because I just saw Louise as very highly intelligent and intuitive, and she wouldn't endanger herself like that. I also felt that the movie didn't make it very clear that he basically sends her, like he kills her. I liked the cliff. I liked the imagery of it, but it wasn't completely clear that no, he sends her off to this like garden where she dies.
Yeah, it's like the movie is different from the book, isn't it? Because the book is the garden scene, like of the floorboards.
Right.
Fresh my memory, and then the movie is the cliff. But then, like you said, like it's not so clear in the movie. Because you're going to have to refresh my memory here about like, because the cliff scene, like actually what happens, like she's riding towards the edge of the cliff.
And he knows that the path there, it could be kind of sketchy, but it's, the movie didn't make him an outright killer, which I was kind of missing that. And also in the black and white version and this new one, you don't have that scene where her last words is her looking at him and saying Ambrose and thinking that he's Ambrose, which is something I really enjoyed, but I didn't mind that change too much. Just thought it was interesting that they didn't keep it in.
Even like going out riding, was this normal for her? Like to just...
Yes,
I think it was normal for her, right?
Yeah.
To go out riding, so it's just another day and she was just saying goodbye.
Yeah.
So she didn't catch on at all. What would happen. It's just, I think they just, got into something like they kind of got themselves in this situation, like a series of events that they couldn't stop. And like, obviously he had his own reasons for doing things and she had her own, but we never really explore it fully. So I guess whether you decided they're both guilty of like murder. Yeah. And you'd expect like something to happen to Philip, but then he is the main character. So
And the point is that there aren't any consequences for him, that he can treat women like this. And I think the first and last line of the book is, they used to hang man over here. Well, isn't that the first line? And then it's like they don't anymore. Like he gets away with it because he can.
Yeah.
And also what I find so interesting is when you see these things on the screen, like him choking her, it's so violent and you think... Like, oh, was it that violent in the book? And then I went back to the spot in the book and his description of him holding her neck is so softened when you're reading it because you're like, oh yeah, it's from his perspective and he doesn't think he's doing anything wrong, when really it's an incredibly violent and terrifying act for him to have done to her.
It's definitely, the book and the movie, I guess that's the thing, because like if it is really entirely his point of view, even the book is like, unless you really delve deeper, like if you just read it surface level, for you it would be straightforward that she deserved it at the end, or because like you said, it's softened in the book, right?
Did you like Rachel Weisz as Rachel?
Because actually I quite like her as an actress in general, and then I was thinking, the movie, like depending on the actors and actresses that you choose, are you going to be biased anyway because you like an actor or actress? Then it's going to like help you along to try and, I think, she played it well, like the kind of like aloof kind of dark, like foreboding figure. Because the poster as well. It's a bit like a horror, isn't it? Like woman, like, just like the veil, the black veil, and just the way like she is. It's kind of like impenetrable. You don't really know what she's thinking.
Impenetrable. Oh, I love that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And I feel like every scene she was in, she just had command, of that. You could feel her influence and her presence through her acting. I thought she was phenomenal. Like the best choice she could have made.
That's great. What do you think about Philip? Is it Sam Clafton? Sam Clafton?
Yeah, I thought he was all right. I thought they did so many really cool, interesting things in this updated version that they didn't do in the old one, of really showing, of really immersing us in this world of like, he's a bachelor, you know, he's blowing on his tea, he's wiping his mouth with his sleeve, the house is dirty. There's a really interesting scene when he rides away from Louise's house. And there's a patch of grass in between and then a path all around leading to the house. And he rides straight through the manicured grass. And I was like, oh, that's such a perfect little detail. Like, he's just such a douche. Like, it doesn't even register, you know?
Really? Yeah, like, do you think it comes out stronger in the movie compared to the book? I guess, yeah, like you said, everything's softened in the book, right? So actually everything doesn't seem so bad, but then there's the underlying message behind it. But the movie really is like, you know, his anger and, you know, just the way he is, it's just more prominent in the film.
Yeah, and it is in the book, but you have to, like, she's tricky. You have to look for it. Like,
it's terrible. Yeah, you really do.
It's there, and just all these little behavioral habits and aspects to his character that I thought they did so well in this new movie. I think all the actors
I have to watch black and white. I have to watch all of them again.
Yeah,
just to compare now.
And also Ian Glenn, who plays the uncle. Everything he's in, he's always so like regal and such a pleasure to watch. Like, oh, it's Ian Glenn.
Yeah, just like movies should bring the essence, obviously the essence of the book, which it did, but also like really bring it to life, because it's always a tricky one, isn't it? Like movies can't really showcase like the best of the book, and so most people would just say, oh no, you know, like the books are better, the originals are better. It's tricky to make a good movie adaptation, basically. Yeah,
and I think it's also tricky when it's all like first person narration. Most Daphne du Maurier movies use voiceover to explain to you what's happening, because it's so hard to like understand what's going on in these people's minds on a film. I think it's such a tall order.
Yeah, that is hard. It's just like The Book Thief, actually, because I mean, I love the book.
Oh, I'm not familiar with it at all, honestly. Tell me about it.
It's really great. It's just like from a creative writing point of view, just like the way like the metaphors and just the imagery he uses is just kind of different and unique. But then the book is actually narrated by Death. Yeah, but then obviously if you kind of translate it to a movie, it doesn't work that way. You've got the voiceover, but then the actual character of Death, who's basically the whole book, actually isn't in the movie. So it's just like a standard kind of historical war movie. I mean, it's nice, like a family film, but it really doesn't show any of like the so-called, I'd say, the positives of the book. And it really is based on like the narration and then the perspective.
Yeah, it's almost like these really cool little tricks and creative aspects that you utilize as a writer can't always make it to the screen.
Of things, especially. Like you can put it on screen, but it's just doesn't have that magic that you can imagine. You know, it's just right there on the screen. However, you know, the director or the actors or actresses kind of, it's their perspective and their take on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, though I thought for this new My Cousin Rachel, the locations were so on point. Like all the greens and the environments and the house. And you said that you're familiar with one of the houses, correct?
Actually, it's so strange. Like watching it, I was like, okay, which scene is this? So basically, me and my friend, we booked a B&B in actually one of the locations. I think do you remember the scene where she's in the room and he sees her for the first time, where she's got the cup?
Yes. Oh, such a great scene.
I think it could be one of those rooms. It's definitely corridor rooms, not necessarily a big building, because, you know, like in movies, they kind of slot things together, right? They take scenes from different places. Different rooms. It was one of those. I was a little disappointed it wasn't the actual, you know what I mean, like the actual the place, the B&B, the house. So they used parts, but yeah, like it was just
interesting.
Yeah,
that's still like really cool.
And also, do you remember the trailer? Did you see the trailer first, or you just went straight into the?
I don't know if I did.
Because there's a song, like it's called "Wicked Game." I can't remember who the singer is, but that really like makes you feel everything just based. Like it was based on that song and the trailer. I was like, well, I would have seen it anyway. And there wasn't a lot of dialogue, but it was mainly the music. It was just so dramatic. It was actually Wicked Game it was like, an original was quite old, and it was a male singer.
Oh.
And it's like country, almost country, but then like, was it a reprise? The remake of the song was just really dramatic. Like a female singer. Yeah.
I'm going to check all this out. You're giving me all the behind the scenes here. I love it.
Just like, we'll have to watch it again with like paying attention to all of these details.
So another thing that I had written down here where I thought they did such a great job presenting this movie from Philip's point of view was the scene where Rachel speaks Italian with the lawyer. And you immediately feel like secluded from the scene. Even though all they're doing is speaking a foreign language, but you're just like Philip suddenly, and you're like, why are they speaking Italian? Like, he's so uncultured. Oh, it drives me mad. Which is interesting. Like, she can't even have any friends or outside things past this like Cornish environment, really, that he's comfortable with.
Sure. And it's just, of course, like everyone around, like her coming to his village and things like that, they're going to be suspicious of her as like a newcomer as well.
Yeah, except she wins them all over right away.
Apart from Louise. Yeah.
Which that is also interesting how they keep referring to her jokingly as this witch. And I think it's completely conscious of Daphne drawing a connection between how women have been labeled and treated in the past and how it's kind of happening again to Rachel. Did you find it, when reading the book, did you find it disorienting to kind of not know what time period this was taking place exactly?
It sounds bad, but I just went along with it.
Yeah.
I didn't actually wonder too much. I was like, okay, it's like, when you read fantasies and things like that, you really just go with it. And you're like, okay, this could happen, fine. It doesn't matter, like, where it is, okay. Like, you just accept it.
No, I agree with you because you really, like, you want to know, like, oh, where am I? What's happening? What's the social, cultural things happening at the time? And Daphne
you're going to have the same question for the other novels.
Right.
House on the Strand and the others. You just...
Oh, I'll have to read that one next then, because I find that
one you really wonder, about like just the things going on around, like actually, because it's like a little pocket, isn't it, that they're living in?
Yeah, and that's her signature. Those really like insular, hypoxic environments that just crush you, but you're so happy to be there because it's Daphne creating this little world for you. And it is like, she obviously knows when she wants this to take place. It's vaguely Victorian, but she like refuses to tell you. She definitely has a style.
Yeah.
So
can you hear the background sound of the fireworks going off?
Oh, it's fireworks?
There's fireworks.
Oh, that's so great. I'm going to keep this in. I love it.
Can you actually hear it? Can you hear them?
Yeah, a little bit. Our break room is all decked out in like Chinese lanterns, and I love it. But that's the most of Lunar New Year I'm gonna get over here in Southern California. My little break room at work.
Even decorated. I haven't even had like the meals, the Chinese. I'm going over to my aunt's tomorrow for lunch. But yeah, did you know, like on the first day of Chinese New Year, you shouldn't eat meat?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah. When I was younger, I was just like, what? Now you tell me? Like, like halfway through eating a piece of meat. It's supposed to be bad luck. It's considered bad luck. But, like, you just don't remember sometimes unless, like, you really have a family gathering and actually all the food is, like, obviously, like, corn or it appears to be meat, but actually it's not. It's all vegetarian. Yeah.
I love that. What did you think about them leaving out Rachel's whole gardening aspect in the movie?
I think I don't actually remember. No.
Oh, I think there just wasn't time for it.
They're just like, I don't want to include that scene.
Well, that's part of so much of her personality is this connection with nature. And in the book, I felt almost like, because Daphne du Maurier uses nature all the time in her books as symbolism, and I almost felt like she was this foreign aspect that was like taking hold in the soil, and like she was doing that through the gardening, if that makes sense. I loved it in the book, but I understand why they can't put everything in a movie.
It's just like the mindset, like the perspective, that just some things that just go on that they just can't. Sometimes they can't show it in the best light. So,
Though I thought that this movie did a pretty decent job of really understanding what the book even was, and what the purpose was. And I tried to watch the 80s version of this, and I couldn't do it. 80s period drama is a dark, dark time. Every time I watch something from the 80s, it's always terrible. Yeah, and I feel like all other genres are fine from the 80s. Like, I can watch a movie from the 80s and be fine with it, but every time it's a period drama, it's just horrible. It's
period drama. I don't know if period dramas are set in the 80s. Any other famous ones? I'm trying to think if I've seen any.
So the Jamaica Inn version from the 80s is horrid. The Sense and Sensibility from the 80s is, again, terrible.
Oh, give that a miss then.
I did, however, find out that the director for this 2017 movie, Roger Michel, I think, he also directed the 1995 Persuasion, which is one of my favorite Jane Austen movie versions. That is a really good one. And it makes sense that he developed as a director. It's like cool to see the changes and see how much he's learned with this new movie.
Persuasion. I wonder if I've seen that. I might have, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty old. Not a lot of people have really seen that one. I thought that in this movie, to create this really kind of gothic and stifling environment that Daphne always kind of brings to her books, they did a really good job just using set and costumes. Like I've never...
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, the tea scene. The first scene when she was sitting down and he was coming in and seeing her for the first time, right? And then the candles and the chandeliers and I love all of that.
Yes, that scene where she walks around and she lights up all the candles. Like she's lighting up the room, like she's bringing life into this. I thought that was so well done. That was such a great idea. Yeah. And it almost replaces that aspect of her gardening with the costumes. Like the textures were so rich and really reflected the characters. For example, when Philip was in Italy, everybody's wearing kind of like light colors and lighter fabrics, and Philip still wears this like flannel vest because he's still him, like he looks so out of place there. And I love that they conveyed that with just the costumes. Yeah. And also that blue dress that Rachel wears right at the end. It's such a tonal shift, and it's so intentional because it's the dress like she dies in.
Colors. It reminds me of Far from the Madding Crowd. Have you seen the new movie?
Oh my god, that new movie is like my favorite thing ever. I hate the book so much, but I love that movie.
It's like a fangirl moment. Oh my god, the colors of her dresses, like just how vivid they, her dresses. Christ, yeah.
It's the same kind of blue too, now that I think about it. And you're so right. That's such a good comparison.
I was like, we could just talk about that film. So, Far from the Madding Crowd, now that would be...
It's so gorgeous. Have you read the book?
Oh, yeah.
God, I hate it so much.
Do you know what, though? It's so weird. I actually prefer Tess of the D'Urbervilles.
Yeah, I refuse to read any more Hardy. I'm done. Sorry.
It's like I read it such a long time ago, and like I'd be so interested to see. Actually, no, you refuse, so you're not going to delve into that world. But then my dad likes Far from the Madding Crowd, and I preferred Tess. But then the first time, like, it's weird. Like the more, like, I read Far from the Madding Crowd probably again, and then I saw the movie, and it just changes. Like, when you're younger, it just changes your, like, when you're older and you read it. Mm-hmm. Like that was definitely one where I just because like it's actually all about relationships. It basically is. Just one girl and three guys. You just change your perspective when you read it. But do you think, is it the language you didn't get along with, or?
No, I just think Hardy is a terrible writer. I don't need to know about this barn for 5 pages. I think it's soap opera writing. The husband who you thought was dead joins the circus. You didn't see that coming. Yeah, no, I didn't, because it's stupid, because this is like a telenovela right now.
Like the movie. No, the movie is good though. But
yeah, I just don't like his writing.
Then the movie is perfect. Isn't it? Because it skips all of that stuff.
Yep.
Language and descriptions. But yeah, that was a good film. The colours, use of colours, and the environment as well, nature.
Yeah, I'm just looking over my notes of what else I had here for My Cousin Rachel. I think I thought it's interesting how they were trying to. Obviously, when you have to make a movie, you have to make it coherent and kind of determine what time period you do want to set it in.
Yeah.
And I felt like the skirts weren't long and like wide enough to be mid-50s, but then they didn't have the flared sleeves. So I felt like it was somewhere between like the change between the 40s and the 50s. And just Rachel's starkness and her kind of tighter sleeves, and just how they made such a difference between her and also the rest of Cornwall, and her shawl and the fabrics that she wears are so rich. I just love that. And I think it's so rare also in period drama to see newer dresses. I think we see a lot of the same dresses reused over and over and rented out again. So I thought it was just incredible to see all these really cool new outfits and how that enhanced the environment and how much money obviously they spent on this. And it works.
It's like, it reminds me of Downton Abbey. Actually, do you watch Downton?
Yes, I am crazy about Downton Abbey.
Have you seen the film?
I loved the film. I thought it was one of the best films of last year.
It's like, oh man, just all the feelings. Like when I started watching, like how old, like how long ago was the first
Oh my
season?
gosh, yeah. I just rewatched all of them.
Just the same feeling, and just, so great. But then of course they put so much like money and effort into like the costumes, and they have whole teams of, because actually I went 2 summers ago, I went to Highclere House.
You did?
Is it? Yes. Oh my God, I loved it. I had a fangirl moment.
That is so great.
But yeah, just being there. But then the interesting thing is the rooms itself, because actually it's owned by a family. It's not National Trust or National Heritage or anything like that. The rooms you see you imagine it's filmed inside, right? Like all the rooms, for example, Mary's room, etc.
I mean, I know they're not, but
no. I was like, what? Because it's all in the studio, isn't it? But
I mean, you never see a long shot from them coming out of the room into the hallway or anything. It's always like, it always feels very separate. But it's good that they're getting tourism, based on, I know it's so hard to keep up these big houses, and at least people are coming to visit them.
It's a lot smaller in real life. But the outside, everything's the same on the outside.
Oh, interesting.
The gardens and everything, and the lanes. Now that really is the same. It's just the rooms and those things are different.
Anything else that you had on My Cousin Rachel? I kind of went through everything that I had.
You've kind of gone off track and back on track and around.
That's okay.
Yeah, I just keep finding like similarities or like side topics with other things. Like my brain always does that. Like it just links straight to another movie or like another book. That's a lot. Oh yeah, and also I got a quote down from the book because she keeps saying, "Oh, I'm not going to trespass on your hospitality," as well. Like she keeps saying that. When he gets too close, she does try to like push him away or like, oh, okay, like I can leave, whenever you want me to leave. But
yeah, but she obviously also doesn't leave,
Yeah, so she always says that. But
what do you think about their sexual encounter? They had 2 in the movie, and there was only that one time in the book.
Oh right, yes, the movie. Now I don't remember 2 times.
There was the one where he climbs up into her room, and then he waits for her the next day trying to have a picnic, but she's gone out, and then when she comes back, he again has sex with her in the like flower field.
Yeah, and then it's the other one where he's in bed, and then she comes and kisses him with a candle. Or is that not that?
Yeah. She's in her own bed and she calls him back and she gives him a kiss very early on and sends him away.
Okay, yeah. I got it in my head. Okay.
I just thought it was so interesting how on that second sex scene, it was very firmly like, oh, Rachel is not in love with him and he's obviously misunderstood. And like the movie was, to me, very like on Rachel's side, which I liked and I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you just imagine like from her point of view, you know, if a guy is just really obsessed with you, and because like he spends his money on her to buy her lavish gifts, right?
Which interestingly she all gives back to the bank too.
Yeah. So it's just like he's putting all this in like on her, and like she doesn't say no. I mean, she does say she tries to, but then she goes along with it. Like she like even just kissing him, and yeah, so. You think like if it's a means to an end, like she has no emotional attachment at all by the end of it. But
then she stays there and we have that letter from the lawyer who's like, why do you care so much about this dude? And I'm like, that's what I want to know.
And it's just, we could take him, right? Isn't that what she says? Like,
right.
just go somewhere. And she come with us. So it's like, I think she got herself in this situation which she couldn't really get away from, and she can't really decide if she likes him or, you know, like she does a bit, but we still don't know really.
Well, no, and not in a romantic way, and it's obvious that they're not on the same level in any way.
Yeah.
Intellectually.
So then she would still keep him around or like take him with her.
Well, it's also interesting that once she gets the allowance, it's obviously not enough. She doesn't leave. She overdraws her account immediately. And then she eventually gets the whole house because he's such an idiot.
That's just that. Oh my god, that in itself is so frustrating.
Oh.
You know when you're just reading it and you're like, dude.
And it's all from his perspective, and he's like, "Why are people doubting me on this? I don't understand." I'm like, "Oh no, Philip, no."
That's the thing. I mean, they all have problems. Yeah, like her spending problems just in general, whether, you know, she killed his uncle. I mean, there's definitely, she's guilty of something.
Yeah, she's not this angel that he sees, definitely.
You know, whether you think she deserves to die. I mean, no one deserves that to happen to them, right? It's good to analyze, though.
Yeah.
Discuss.
I think that's it. That's all we had.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to tell the people anywhere that they can find you or follow you anywhere?
My Instagram account is Kate Talks About Books. Mainly just post book photos, classics. I just like taking photos of books. And then I also have a blog, which is also the same, which is actually it's Kate W.J. White at wordpress.com. I used to like post poetry and book reviews, actually, but then I've given that a bit of a break. But I think I should get back into it.
Perfect. Now I'll link all that in the description box as well so people can find you.
Thank you.
Hey folks, this is Tabby again. I had such fun having Kate on to talk about My Cousin Rachel. If you want us to talk about anything or you're another podcast and want to do a crossover, hit us up, modernlifepod@gmail.com, or find us at modernlifepod on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much for listening.
Blessed Rachel, only you can know now this burden that I must carry to the end of my days. This question that I must ask myself again and again, every day of my life, never to be answered now until we meet at last in purgatory. Were you innocent, or were you guilty? Rachel, my torment, my blessed, blessed